Hello, hello, and welcome everyone to our meditation. So, a little bit about myself. My name is Christopher Luard, and I've been practicing various forms of mindfulness and meditation for close to 40 years now. I started when I was quite young. And I've trained very deeply in the Buddhist traditions. I spent about 10 years in Asia, 5 years traveling Asia, visiting various monasteries and studying quite deeply, and then 5 years living in Thailand. The reason why I settled in Thailand was I got offered a job there at a recovery center called the New Life Foundation. So I was happily working there until COVID, and then COVID shut the place down. I worked as a freelance, working at several different recovery centers throughout Thailand and online, and then moved back to Delaware, where I am currently working at a place called Impact Life. Impact Life. Now, I've studied, as I mentioned, quite deeply in the early Buddhist traditions, the later Buddhist traditions as well, but also have a deep background in trauma healing. I've studied intensively with Gabor Mate and Peter Levine. I've studied many of the Western contemplative traditions, such as nonviolent communication, trauma-sensitive mindfulness, positive neuroplasticity, and a group called Secular Dharma. So I have a good balance of East and West, and I intend to bring these teachings forward in such a way that they're accessible for everyone. So the guided meditation that I would like to offer here today is a meditation on resting. Resting. And so we'll be invited to connect to the present moment through the experience of sound, and then we'll bring awareness through the body, inviting the body to rest very deeply. Now, a little bit about that. As we bring awareness through the body, we may come to areas of the body that are painful or activating or triggering in some way, and that's normal. Most people do have experiences like that, particularly if you do take a practice up like this regularly. You may come to areas of the body that don't feel very good, and that's fine. So if you notice that during the practice, I would invite you to hold the question, can I rest with this? Can I rest with this? And so let's use the example of I bring awareness to my shoulder and it's very sore, right? So I might ask the question, okay, can I rest with this? And the answer to that question could be yes, and that's good. Then just continue resting in the practice, continue with the practice. But the answer might be no, I can't rest with this. And that's also good. There's no judgment around that. It's just information that really informs us how we could move forward into the practice. So if the answer is no, I cannot rest with this, then feel free to shift awareness somewhere else that feels safer and more easeful. Perhaps the feet against the ground, or the weight of the body in the chair. Or you could bring awareness back to a sound. Sounds can sometimes feel very safe. The hum of a fan or an air conditioner, or maybe even the neighbor's music or something like that, a conversation nearby. Any kind of sound that can really, sounds are always present moment experiences, right? So it helps to anchor us into the present moment. And then we will be invited to observe the activity of our own mind. And I find this to be very helpful because we sort of, resting into the present moment, resting in the body and observing the mind. And the more we observe our thoughts, we see them arising and passing and fading away. So with a consistent practice of that, we start to recognize that, maybe we don't need to really believe in every thought, right? The thoughts are arising and passing, and I'm still here at rest. So with practice, we start to get a kind of autonomy over the types of thoughts the types of thoughts it would be helpful to let go of, and the types of thoughts we can actually cultivate and encourage. So this can be very, very helpful. As you may have noticed, much of our stress, anxiety, comes from a type of thought loop. So with a consistent practice like the one we're about to explore together, we can start to step out of those thought loops. Okay, so that's a little bit about the practice. We'll do this for about 20 minutes or so. And I will ring the bell in a moment. Let me get the timer up here. Okay, here we go. So I'll ring the bell and I'll guide us in. Oh, and by the way, before we get started, if anything comes up around the meditation practice you'd like to have a question or a discussion about, please always feel free to reach out to me. You can reach out to me through my website, www.suchsweetthunder.org. Or you could simply email me. My email is my name, Chris Luard, Luard, @yahoo.com. And always feel free. I love getting emails and messages about meditation. It's really, it's exciting for me. So feel free. Okay, now we're ready to start. So enjoy this resting in the body and observing the mind practice. So the invitation here is just to arrive into this present moment. And there are many ways of arriving and connecting to the present moment. And for this practice, perhaps starting with the experience of sound. So let us, for the moment, become listeners of the present moment experience. We might hold a question like, what does this present moment sound like? You might notice quiet, subtle sounds, or there might be loud, obvious sounds. Perhaps noticing sounds generated by nature, such as bird songs or crickets chirping. There might be a dog barking nearby or a conversation unfolding. We might notice sounds generated by electronics or appliances, machinery, a car, or truck, or motorbike passing by, or the hum of an air conditioner or a fan or a heater. But regardless of the quality of the sound or the volume of the sound, perhaps recognizing how sounds are always present moment experiences. And so, if we should notice our mind going into the past or the future, we can always return back to the present through the experience of sound. Resting, listening. And if at any point during the meditation you should notice you get distracted by thoughts, just remember that that's normal. The mind will want to think. Smilingly recognizing the distraction, perhaps noting it, thinking, and gently returning back to the present moment, to the sounds of this experience. And then while we're here resting and listening to the present moment, the invitation then, if it feels good to do so, is to bring awareness to the feet. And perhaps noticing the contact of the feet against the floor or the ground or the carpet. Inviting the muscles in the feet to relax and grow soft, rest. And then, in the next breath or two, if it feels good to do so, the invitation is to bring awareness to the legs, from the ankles to the knees to the hips, quadriceps, and thighs. And perhaps noticing sensations of clothing against the legs. And as a reminder, if there's any discomfort, whether it's physical or emotional discomfort as we bring awareness through the body, again, just remember that that's normal, and feel free to hold the question, can I rest with this? Allowing the question to guide us. And if the answer is no, I can't rest with this, that's fine. Feel free to shift awareness elsewhere and then return back to the practice when you feel ready to do so. And so while we're here resting, the invitation then is to notice the weight of the body against the cushion or chair. And perhaps feeling into what it's like to be supported and held by the chair or the cushion. This perhaps might bring forth a sense of safety and comfort. And just noticing that if that's there for you. And then in the next breath or two, if it feels good to do so, we could bring awareness to the hands and perhaps noticing the hands resting against the body or touching each other. Inviting the muscles in the hands to relax and unwind, rest. And we might include into this exploration the arms from the wrists to the elbows to the shoulders. Inviting the muscles in the arms to relax and rest. And while we're here resting, perhaps noticing the back moving out as you breathe in and in as you breathe out. It's quite common for the human body to carry tension or stress in the back. And if you notice any tension there, just inviting that to relax and soften, release, let go. We could bring awareness then to the rising and falling of the abdomen. The abdomen is yet another area that's commonly used to carry tension or stress. If you notice any stress or tension there, just inviting that to soften and release, relax and unwind. And it's possible we come to an area of the body that doesn't want to relax. And that's fine, that's very normal. And in that case, simply noting that that's what's there and continuing with the practice. Not trying to force relaxation, which is not really possible. And then in the next breath or two, perhaps noticing the rib cage expanding and contracting with each breath. We might also notice the shoulders rising and falling with the in-breath and out-breath. Inviting the muscles in the shoulders to relax and unwind, rest. We might also notice sensations arising throughout the back of the neck and the sides of the neck. Inviting the muscles in the neck to relax and unwind, rest. Perhaps noticing sensations arising throughout the cheeks of the face. Letting any tension or stress that's held in the face soften, relax. If it's helpful, unhooking the jaw and moving the jaw left to right as a way of inviting the muscles in the jaw to soften. And noticing sensations arising from the top of the head, the very crown of the head. And so we'll take a few moments here just to continue arriving and settling, resting. And from time to time, if you feel it's helpful, you might check in with the shoulders. Are the shoulders resting? Checking in with the jaw and the face. Are the muscles in the face relaxed and soft? Checking in with the arms and hands. Are the arms and hands really resting? Noticing too the abdomen. Is the abdomen really at rest? Perhaps checking in with the legs and feet. Are the legs and feet really resting? Again, we can't force relaxation, but just briefly circling back around through the body and letting go of any tension that we may have missed. And again, if you should become distracted by thoughts, just remember that that's normal. Smilingly recognizing the distraction, letting it go. Perhaps noting it, thinking, and gently returning back to the present moment. And so while we're here resting and connecting to the present moment, the invitation then is to bring awareness to the activity of the mind. And we can observe the thoughts of the mind much in the same way we observe fish in an aquarium. There might be large, colorful fish, or there might be small, swift-moving fish. Just like there may be colorful, large thoughts that we have, ideas or beliefs, or small, swiftly moving thoughts. We could count the thought fish in the mind. There may be many, many thought fish, or perhaps just a few kind of lazily swimming through. We don't need to believe in these fish, right? We don't need to follow them or entertain them in any way. But simply observe these thought fish as they arise and swim through the fishbowl of the mind, and then they fade away. And so we can remain at rest, resting in the body, observing the activity of the mind. We don't need to change the thoughts or try to get rid of them. Recognizing that thoughts will naturally dissolve if we don't entertain them or follow them. Simply observing the thoughts, the thought fish in the aquarium of the mind. And you might notice that you do accidentally start to follow a fish, the mind going into thoughts and stories. And if you notice that, noting the thoughts thinking, letting those stories go and returning back to rest in the body, and observe the activity of the mind. Resting, resting. And so in a few moments' time, we'll begin to shift away from this guided meditation and back into a conversational space. And I'll cue that by ringing the bell 3 times. Yeah, so thank you for that. And I want to speak a little bit about the practice that we just explored. Just taking your time, though, to come back if your eyes were closed. Gently opening them and looking around the room, reorienting yourself to your surroundings. And so, in the guiding, I invited us to notice if we're distracted by thoughts, we can label those thoughts with the word thinking, and saying it 2 or 3, 4 times, letting the thoughts go, and then returning back to wherever we are in the practice. This too can be a very helpful way of cultivating this ability to let go of our thoughts without entertaining them or following them. And I don't know if your thought processes are like mine. My thoughts tend to really take me into the future or into the past. And so if particularly, that's the home of anxiety, right? If our thoughts are about the future, we're imagining some perhaps painful outcome to a situation, for example. If I notice my mind is doing that, I can then say thinking, letting those thoughts go, and coming back to the actual experience of the present moment. And likewise, of course, if my thoughts are in the past, some regrets, some things like that, I can use that same technique. Thinking, coming back to feeling the hands or feeling the feet, noticing the sounds, and so forth. And then also, I just want to offer a little bit of instruction or perhaps wisdom or insight, pardon me, around the question, can I rest with this? Because as human beings, and really any living organism, we're all wired to push away discomfort and grasp at comfort. This is a very, very basic survival technique. I mean, without this wiring, as a species, we probably wouldn't have survived, right? So we have to be able to do this, to recognize danger and push that away and move towards safety. Recognize discomfort, push that away, and move towards comfort, right? Now, that's not an issue, right? But the issue is that has become, for most people, automatic, habitual. So that whenever we feel any sort of discomfort, we're automatically pushing that away and moving towards comfort without any thought about the suffering that we might be causing in that motion. Because it's instinctual and habitual, and it tends to be very fast, very knee-jerk reaction. You know, it can be as simple as, oh, this room is too hot, I go turn on the air conditioning. Oh, my stomach is uncomfortable, I go get some food, right? But and there's nothing wrong with that. The idea, though, in this practice, by recognizing the discomfort and holding that question, can I rest with this? We're bringing that automatic tendency out of the unconscious and making it conscious. We're bringing consciousness to this habitual tendency. And this is actually quite important because we can kind of, see the type of suffering that comes from this automatic reaction, right? All addiction is based in this, right? This present moment is so uncomfortable for whatever reason, and we reach towards something to alleviate that. And again, that's natural, it's normal, we need to be able to do that. But when we can make that unconscious habit conscious, we have a lot more choice over what we reach for that comfort. We can make a skillful decision to do something nourishing for ourselves and perhaps for others as well, rather than moving in a habitual way which may or may not cause suffering for ourselves and for others. And very often it does. When it's left to the instinct, it does cause suffering. And so one can hold this question throughout the day, just like that technique of saying thinking, we can use that when we're not meditating. In just the same way, we can hold this question, can I rest with this, periodically throughout the day. For example, I might be expecting a challenging phone call. And so maybe for 5 or 10 minutes before the phone call, I might just hold this question, okay, can I rest with this? Can I rest with this? And then the phone rings, maybe as the phone rings, I ask the question again, okay, can I rest with this? Answering the phone, listening to the sound of the other person speaking, hearing what they're offering, holding that question in the background of awareness. Can I rest with this? Again, it's not a dogma, but often that question can reveal the opportunity of rest that we may have missed in the past. And this can keep us in a place of calm so that we're not so reactive when we're in the rough and tumble of our world, of our life. So I think that's all. Thank you all for being here. Again, if any questions or comments come up, please feel free to reach out. My website, suchsweetthunder.org. Also, you can email me, my name, chrisluard@yahoo.com. And I'm happy to answer any questions or comments. So thank you so much. Have a great weekend. Have a great day. We'll see you next time.